What does the new ore mining station mean for gold farming in Palworld? Does it beat salads? Let's find out. Now what I'm going to do is play my money making guide from the salad part and then splice in the ore farming part, and we're going to get some numbers and see what's the best. And a lot of people are like, yo, salads are kind of cracked. They're not too hard to make since it's only 2 automatically farmed ingredients and they sell for a lot. Now the setup I have here is on the upper end, but it's not only the best worker pals and the highest level pals and stuff. So it's like 80% full efficiency potentially, but also kind of in the realm of pulling off in-game where it's like, yeah, we got a couple of Lileans, we got a couple of Verdash, and then Jormuntide. So the difficulty of getting those pals is kind of whatever, because you can breed Lilean with Mossanda and Petalia, but Petalia is going to be on the first Forbidden Island. And after fixing the glitch of being able to fly on a pal to avoid criminal activity and buffing the police enforcers, I haven't tested out like how much more difficult it is to get Petalia, but it is pretty rare. There's also the level 28 Alpha Petalia, and you only need 1 to breed the Lilean, so it's not like you're farming them at the Sanctuary, so this could also be the way to go. And then Lilean is going to be in the other Sanctuary. But overall, it's like, yeah, you're going to want Lilean at some point because it has 4 planting, 2 harvesting, and then Verdash is going to be 3 harvesting, 2 planting, as well as some other stuff. The transport is really nice, and then Jormuntide just on that 4, but you can also have a Suzaku for the watering as well. And then Frostalia Noct, the ultimate of endgame, where you have to breed a legendary pal to get this exclusive. It's going to be 4 on the harvesting, and we have a setup that uses 8 pals here, so just kind of going for the highest. Now, as for the farms, we have 4 tomato plantations to 6 lettuce plantations, and that's going to keep it fairly even with this setup. So I've gotten about 1,500 of each in an hour, and that was before I put down the work enhancement structures. So I forgot about these, which means you can get a little bit more out of it. Also, you can use more than 8 pals to increase the efficiency. You can put more down, but this isn't going to completely take over a base, and it's going to give you a lot of salads. And then that means you just need something like a Jormuntide Ignis. A lot of people go out, they farm the huge eggs, so you can have a 4 cooking, and actually making the salads isn't too crazy, but it does take 2 of each. So we're looking at around 700 to 800 salads per hour with this kind of setup that isn't the most min-max perfected, but also kind of needs to get built into a bit. However, no matter how crazy your tomato and lettuce production gets, you're going to be able to keep up with salad cooking, so it's not like you're going to find a bottleneck there, even with a level 3 kindling pal. Now, the electric stove cooks really fast, so having just a basic electric generation pal you don't need to have an ore zerk is going to be better, because it means you only need like 1 Jormuntide Ignis for the electric kitchen, and that's going to be faster than having 2, 3 kindling on a cooking pot, or even 1 Jormuntide Ignis and then 1 level 3 kindling. So it just seems like, yep, you can kind of simplify it by just having a little bit of electricity generation, and then that can be used for the rest of your base and other things you want to do. Now it's time for some math. So let's say we have 750 salads being made per hour, and we multiply that by 120. That gives us around 90,000 gold per hour, and that puts us pretty much where nails were, because nails, they were gated by the ore respawn rate, which means you had to if you had just the fastest possible setup and like really good ore spawn timings, then you were looking around 80k an hour to potentially like 90k at the ultimate upper limit. So this setup actually puts us where nails were before the nerf, with the benefit that you can actually leave your base. So with the ores, you have to be there or the pals won't mine the ore, which is going to really hurt and slow things down. But since it's a workstation, you just come back, and then you come back to tons of lettuce and tomatoes. Also, salads are an OP food because they improve the work speed of your pals. So if you're feeding them some of the salads that you make, it's going to be giving a lot of nutrition, restoring some sanity, and then making it to where you make more salads. So even if we're looking at like 700 salad profit, then the rest is being eaten, and you're making potentially like 800 salads an hour, or if you expand this out more, it's actually going to be really good overall. And then it frees up the base, you have electricity generation, you also have the ability to like smelt and make some other things with the Phalaris or Jormuntide Ignis. it's just looking really, really good overall. So in my ore base guide, I showed that you can catch 4 random dig toys that don't even have work speed buffs, and you can still do really well with the mining site. Now you want 4 because someone's going to be on break, someone's eating, someone's upset, other things going to happen, so you just want to have as much uptime as possible, and I even recommend 2 large hot springs. Now as you can see, this workflow is very manageable for even a Ragnarok with 3 transport, and it's able to keep up. It's also able to smelt regular ingots faster than ore is produced, so you can just go to an improved furnace, do a full stack, drop it off in a chest, and then it'll just go to the ore site and start depositing everything again. Oh yeah, and quick note, I put down torches to make sure the rocks and ore in my base wouldn't spawn. The fire pal will try to ignite them. It's kind of annoying, but doesn't really seem to slow things down, but you can just build whatever over it. So you really only need 5 pals for 1 ore station, and this one station can make 5,000 to 6,000 ore an hour, so 2,500 to 3,000 ingots for just 5 pals. Let's do some math. You can get 1,000 ore in 10 minutes with 4 bums. So that's 500 ingots times 6, 3,000 ingots an hour, but we could do that times 2. And then we go times 20, so 2 mining stations taking up, you know, we don't, like 1 Jormuntide is definitely enough for maybe even both outputs at that point. So that's 8 mining pals, a Jormuntide, a level 4 transport, and that's 10 pals. So you only need half a base to make 120,000 gold an hour off of selling a crazy amount of ingots. Now, peak salad is about 100k gold per hour with like 10 good pal slots being used. So I think like that's what you want. You want an ore base plus a salad base combined. Now, some people are on the 15 limit, no reason not be 20. There's probably a way to make it work. Also, salads have synergy because that's making the food. You can sell the rest for a little bit of extra money. Mining, just going to be more money, easier, and better. So that's where all of your production is there. Now you can double that money even further with nails, because even though nails have been nerfed, 2 nails is 40 gold. And you get 2 nails per craft of 1 ingot. So that means having a really good handiwork pal can also be incorporated into this, just good to have in general. Okay, but what if we jump the shark? What if the simplest solution is the easiest, where it's like, well, we can have like 15 Astegons mining, and if they're just getting stone so fast, can we actually make more money off of having all of these mining Astegons and then just sell the raw stone output? Now, some of the fastest stone I've observed is about 7 stone per second, but you can do that times 5. So we're getting 35 stone per second. 35 gold per second passively, and this is also going to be with like not perfectly bred Astegons. Now, as you can see, the work speed of all of these Astegon vary, and some of them are just like musclehead ones that don't contribute a lot, and none of them have actually had souls put into them, so you can get more work speed out of it. Anubis are nice because they can pick up some of the slack on transport, but you will have slower mining. However, if you build this in an ore base or the ore and coal location, then you have it to where, well, with the recent patch, there's different priorities. So now a mining pal won't be stuck at just the stone quarry, and they'll actually like leave it to mine coal and ore, which means you're going to want some transport for that, and then you can also get some extra resources as they're mining tons of stone if you need ingot production, refined ingots, and stuff like that. However, this could create problems because transport is still kind of sketchy, that transport pals aren't going to like pick up full stacks of the coal and ore on the ground and then transport them and make that all nice. It can also be a lot slower ore and coal than the amount of stone output we have here. So if you just want to have like a dedicated stone only money making base, then the numbers get kind of crazy because you can just do a flat ground, put down a ton of these stations. That way, even if they fill up because there's not enough transport, you just come back, move them here, drop them into one of these. Now, the reason why you want more than 15 mining pals despite only having 5 mining stations is because pals are going to go on break. We have on a short break, upset and went to bed. Pals are also going to be taking a break in the hot springs and eating food. So you're always going to want to like fill in any empty spots with like an Astegon or some kind of mining pal, which is why you can actually even expand it. 20 Astegons, 6 mining stations pretty much permanently occupied, pulling in up to 7 stone per second. So let's actually see what like the super crazy ideal is. This isn't going to be in a mining base. This is just going to be like raw, most optimized stone quarrying. So 7 times 6, it's going to give us 42. Let's just say inefficiencies and stuff. Get 40 stone per second. So that's going to be that much gold per minute and 144,000 gold per hour. Now there's some drawbacks, because to sell all of this, you're going to have to over encumber yourself. That's like not the worst thing, especially now that you can move a little bit. So you grapple to your PAL box and you teleport to a trader, or if you can box in a trader or have them do a long crafting session so they're in one spot, you can fill up a full inventory and then dump all of your stone that way. So it's not as nice to sell as other items that are just worth a lot more, but you got a 6x7 grid, sell several 100,000 stone in one go. And if you put an unreasonable amount of quarries down, well, even if it fills up on the maximum amount, they're just going to move on to the next quarry. Then you have this for storage, and like you can just move and sell and make progress that way. So it does pretty well AFK. And it's really just like the Astagon investment, but that's basic breeding. They don't have to be like the perfect worker pals either, and they still do crazy amounts of mining. And the overall investment is stone quarries, beds, and then the mining station. And it's really good. Also, since you don't have to babysit the base to get ore, that means you can actually just kind of go out on ore and coal mining expeditions and fill up entire inventories, and that could be better, because then you have like active resource gathering with passive income. You can use that to buy like all the ammunition and other stuff you need. Also, I feel like as the game gets expanded, if there's more towns, which we've seen in other trailers, and an expanded like shopkeeping system, if you can just buy ore and coal, again, passive income becomes a lot stronger, so you're going to want to save up money that way. Also, a little bit ago, I found this post. Pizza isn't always better than salad. Here's why. Now, the post has been deleted, and the person just like straight up nuked their account, so that's just Reddit weirdness being weird. But there was a thing where people are like, yo, just make pizza. However, pizza is more complex than making salad, and apparently there's just like an actual game benefit to the salad in some situations. Both pizza and salad give 30% work speed buff for around 10 minutes. However, pizza adds an extra buff that reduces the rate at which PAL hunger drains by 10 minutes. So we tested it with two similar Anubis working at Stone Pit. One would eat salad, the other would eat pizza. The pizza Anubis drained hunger so slowly that it would work for minutes without having the work speed buff because it wasn't refreshing the food duration. So working this long without the buff isn't better than eating a bit more often. Salads shine even harder the lower the PAL's food drain is. So pizza is not always a direct upgrade, and with the ease of making a salad base as I've shown, yeah, salad's actually really good, and then you just sell the rest of it for money, and then you can fuel all of your other work speed bases really well. Now, since we're talking about farming and salads, what about berry fields? Well, I couldn't find a lot of definitive stuff about like berries per hour, but that's also because everyone is doing it with their own arbitrary setups. It's like, oh, I don't have a full base dedicated to making salads, and I have a random mishmash of random work speed and efficiency and like work level pals. So the comparison is going to not be super consistent, especially with someone else who's just like randomly testing stuff. So they say berry farming is the best money making you can do in the game before the nail nerf, but you need 42 berry fields on a 15 PAL base or 51 berry fields on a 20 PAL base depending on world settings, and then you need enough of the right PALs to keep it all going, and of course to bake them all. Doesn't say what the right PAL sauce is to keep it going, so I guess it's going to be like switching in and out Jormuntides and Lyaleen. So I don't know if the solution is, well, actually, you can get rid of 2 Verdash, you just put in another Frostallion Noct, and if you have the means of getting one, you should just keep on breeding them, and then you pop in another Lyaleen, and then that efficiency is just going to go crazy to where you don't even need Verdash, or maybe you just need like some kind of transport PAL. So Wumpo, actually without the Frost Wumpo, just the regular one, is going to have a little bit of planting, it's going to have the 4 transport, and then Ragnahawk is just really good with a 3 transport. I might have said Phalaris earlier in the video. People make a stronger case for Ragnahawk because it's more accessible, the breeding is going to be easier to get the passives onto initially, and people claim that it gets stuck less than Phalaris. Now, they claim you can get 160k gold per hour in a fully dedicated base, or 193k gold per hour in a 20 pal base. Nails, they're capped at around 90k because of the ore node spawns, and people are just saying berries are better. Now, berries do have the drawback of being worse food value. So yeah, it will be like, once your pals hit that food threshold, they're just going to be like working for a couple seconds, eating a berry, working for a couple seconds, and eating some berries, and that's going to slow them down. Also, by making salads, you get more work speed. So technically, if like we did just make a completely dedicated base that was like all Lylene, all Frostallion knocked, all Jormuntide, we could maybe even go like 2.5 times on this, and then we're making more money in salads. So I think like going harder on like the ultimate salad farming is going to beat berry farming. But again, that's where it just gets like weird, where like you're just maxing out a full base. And the way I make my guides is I don't go for the 100% most peak optimal, that there's other considerations to take into place, such as the actual setting it up. I consider a money-making method to be better, even if it earns less money per hour, if it's easier or more accessible to set up or has a more simple design. That way you can actually get it set up and you can be making money a lot faster. Or if there's other benefits, that having a salad farm is then going to work for the work speed of all of your other bases, which can then turn into more production and more money making. What else do we got? PSA, you can sell legendary spheres for 4,500 a pop, and selling spheres is great for padding your wallet. A small guide to selling spheres. With all the gold making methods being talked about pre-nail nerf, I wanted to make this guide because I didn't see it mentioned and was surprised at the sell price. I never bothered pre-nerf because nails were the superior use of ore for gold generation. However, things are a bit different since you're not spending your ore for nails. Also, just having like massive legendary sphere production going to be good for catching pals and farming that way. So it's a way of converting gold. As long as you're willing to put a few spare resources into it, legendary spheres might be the most optimal way of making gold. And then he goes through the entire system, and it's something I might actually try to optimize for myself for like future money-making guides and updates and stuff, because the idea behind legendary spheres is crazy. Like, if you make 1,000 legendary spheres, and let's say it takes 10 hours, well, that means you're still making 450k per hour, which demolishes every money-making method, and it's going to be like 90% passive, except for making the cement. It also means running around a little bit and moving some items around where it's like, oh, I have to make the carbon fiber, I have to make the cement, and you have to get the pal fluids. But then the idea is like, well, you just go and farm the water dudes. You get however much pal fluid you need to make 5,000 cement. And while it's like an insane amount of farming, if that only takes you an hour, and then the rest of the production takes like 4 hours, and you can actually end up with 1,000 legendary pal spheres in like 5 hours of semi-active work, that's going to be any active money making while having a passive side, while also giving you more legendary spheres than you're going to ever need. And with the update, Kelpsy grazes for pal fluid, so you actually don't have to go out and farm it. However, if you have like a really good mounted pal and you're just running over the gobfins, you get way more pal fluids. Much like with a cake farm, I feel like there's some angles where you're just better off making money or doing active things instead of wasting a pal slot grazing. But having a Kelpsy just kind of getting you a couple hundred pal fluids in the background while you're not doing anything and there's a free slot on your base, you're going to use those at some point. So that's worth consideration, and it makes the legendary spheres more automatic or more passive. Food for thought, legendary pal spheres might be the ultimate sweaty way of making the most money the fastest in Palworld. And then people talk about grazing. Grazing has never been good. Like, I don't understand the sub 80 IQ you have to go, now give coin, that means passive coin always better, Mao farming. Also, we've known for a while now that work speed increased passives do not affect grazing. Now, this could be a bug, or maybe it's something that gets fixed later, as it kind of shows that grazing is really weak, so keep an eye on that. But it means you want to go for like sanity, hunger, and movement speed if you're making a grazing pal. That way, like, oh, pal's grazing, gets hungry, runs really fast to eat some food, then runs really fast to the grazing. But then if it loses sanity or hunger less, then it's just going to stay in the grazing area a lot longer, and that's the best way of getting grazing efficiency. But then the pal condensing for it is just never worth it. And that's what this guy's working on, currently experimenting with both pizza and high-quality cloth. High cloth so far is easy money you can collect and sell. Level 5 condensed Sibilix times 12 nets you 60 cloth per minute at max, so about 28k an hour max profit. Okay, that's just like completely wrong unless he missed some numbers there. So reminder, high quality cloth sells for 40 each, which means if we're doing 40 times 60, we're going to be doing 2,400 a minute, which means we're going to be at 144,000 gold per hour, which sounds insane. But that's like the uppermost end, and remember, that means it's going to take, wait, what? 12 max condensed Sibilix? Absolutely psychotic. No one has ever done that yet. At minimum, 480 gold per minute, level 1. So 480 times 60 is where they get the 28k. So if you have 12 level 1 Sibilix, you get 28k an hour. Now that means 12 level 1 Sibilix give 8 high quality cloth a minute. I don't know if those numbers line up. I don't know if it's 1 per minute or slower per Sibilix at level 1. So these numbers could actually like skew down. Or if you have like 20 of them, well then you're getting like 50k an hour just from having 20 Sibilix just throw into a base that's all grazing. Now the reason why it says 12 is because you can have at least 3 pals making food like salads, so I guess that kind of works out. But yeah, it's kind of weird on the Sibilix, and it requires such an insane amount of work just to end up with the same as a quarry of regular Astagon. So there we go, guys. That is a breakdown of the best money-making methods in Palworld for 0.1.5 after the nail nerf. No, black marketeer roasting doesn't count. That's a glitch. That's cheating. Same thing for any kind of duping for money. So when the black marketeer inevitably gets patched and all those cheaters have to cry, this is where you're going to have to look for ideas on money making. And then it could just come down to like, yo, legendary pal spheres. That's your ultimate goal for the game. That's also your ultimate goal for money making. And it could just be really nice to get a system like that set up. And there's other benefits to other money making methods. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.